Welcome to today's webinar. We are glad you joined us. Your presenter today is Andrew Grimes, a veteran in the technology field. Andrew has his master's in computer resource and information management, as well over 20 industry standard certifications, and has over 22 years of experience in the IT career field. Currently, he is an IT director at a company in Portland, Oregon, teaches college-level technology classes, runs a technology leadership meetup group, and posts almost daily on his IT career training YouTube channel known as TechnoSurge. In his free time, he enjoys hiking in the Pacific Northwest, traveling, and is currently taking salsa lessons.
Welcome. Thank you for joining me into this IT Career Success webinar. I'm super excited to get started with you. Really, we're going to be covering what are some of the keys to success. The keys to success in a career and really in life. And so let's talk about some of those keys to success. So there are some handouts that hopefully you had a chance to print that out. If you haven't, go ahead and pause the video and make sure you go print that out, and then we'll get started. And so we actually come across the first question right here: how many working hours in a lifetime? And the answer to this is 90,000. Well, approximately. Obviously, we're all going to work a little bit different, and how long we work is going to vary a little bit. But approximately, we have about 90,000 hours that we're going to work at our career. So it's really important that we choose something that is going to be fulfilling to us, something that we're going to enjoy, something that is going to be the right fit for us. So 90,000 hours, let's make sure that we get that one right. So in your handouts, what you can do is you can fill in how many working hours in a lifetime? 90,000. All right, so how can we achieve success? You are in a spot. So you're right here, and you want to achieve some sort of success. You want to get to a destination, and there is a path to get to that destination. Ideally, we take that straight line to get to that path. That shortest distance is probably what most of us want to do to get to that, to achieve success. But in reality, when we're talking about our path to success, it looks a little more like this. There are no simple answers in life. Things get a little bit kind of crazy at times. And what we end up doing is we end up veering off in different directions and not taking that straight path to success. So what can we do to actually shortcut that? Or can we shortcut this? And the answer to this is yes. There are ways that we can shortcut our path to success. We don't need to go into these long tangents in other areas. We can cut some of that off. Now, is it always going to be a straight path? No, but we can take a more direct route to success. And how do we do that? Well, the answer to how do we do that is that we learn from others. Others have probably gone on a similar path that you're heading in, and they have achieved success. So the question is let's take a look at those who are successful and then make choices based off of the information we receive with that. So in your handouts, once again, you can fill this out. How can you take a shortcut to success? Well, you will learn from others. All right, so in this webinar, what we're actually going to do is we're going to take a look at some success equations, some ways that we can actually be successful. And then I'm going to get into some IT career stages. I'm assuming that you're watching this because you're interested in a career in IT. And then let's talk about how to start or advance your career in IT. So, let's first of all jump into the success equations, the part one of this webinar. So first of all, what is the equation to success? And the answer to that is pretty simplistic. There are a ton of tools that can help us make us successful. There is a lot of characteristics we can emulate to make us successful. There's a lot of habits we can put into place to be successful. There's a lot of ways that we can achieve success, but really when it boils down to it, the equation for success is quite simple. And that is, there's two components. There's the focus part and perseverance. It's really that simple. Focus is our ability to be able to weed out distractions and be able to focus on one thing. We have a lot of different things that divide our attention nowadays. We have our phones that we get onto. We have our families that we attend to. We have our jobs that we have to make money. We have other things in our lives, TV programs and YouTube videos. And there is just a whole long list of different distractions that we get into and divide our focus. And the thing is some of those are very important, and we wouldn't want to not focus on our family. That's obviously something that we want to focus on, our relationships. But the more things that you're trying to focus on, the less focus you have on any one of those things. So if I have a few things that I'm dividing my focus on, then I have to spend my time on those different areas. If I have a lot of things, then the time that I have to focus on each one of those areas is pretty minimal. So what I need to do is perhaps I need to cut out some of the things that I focus on. Then there's also the perseverance side of this equation. The perseverance is our capabilities of just keep moving forward. Things are going to get rough and hard. That's part of life. You know, what we need to do is, if we're going to achieve success, we need to find ways that we can advance forward when things get difficult. That's the perseverance side of it. And the thing is that a lot of us humans are not great at this. We all have varying degrees of capabilities with this perseverance. But if you can out-persevere those who are around you, then you will be more successful in life and achieving your dreams. So really, perseverance and focus are really the two elements that create success. So if you can, and there's, like I say, lots of tools and lots of characteristics that can help us implement this, and I will be creating videos on how to gain focus and how to persevere. But ultimately, the equation is simple, and keeping the equation in mind will help us achieve that. So in your handouts, you can write down focus and perseverance are the two components to success. All right, success equation number 2. All right. One thing, what makes a great employee? And the equation for this is actually quite simple as well. And really, for all the employees that I have, there's a certain amount that I have to manage them. I have to have meetings with them. I have to give them direction. I have to make sure that they're on task. I have to make sure they're doing the right things. So those are the type of things that I have to pour into my employees. And then I get something out of that. They are turning out some sort of product or doing some sort of tasks. They are producing something. And what makes a good employee is this equation of whatever the input is. So you have a certain input into your employees, and then they have an output. And a good employee essentially is the input is less than the output. They are outputting more than what I am pouring into them. So it's a pretty simple equation there. And there's obviously varying degrees. I mean, if I am pouring more into an employee than I'm getting out of, obviously that's not a good scenario, and that employee is not going to last very long. But the less that you have to be managed, and the more like self-driven you are, and you find tasks to do, and you're looking to improve things, and you're easier to work with, and you're getting a lot of stuff done. That's the input side of it. I guess the getting stuff done is more of the output side of it. Making sure that you are performing the great tasks and you're worthwhile there. That really was ultimately what it is. So the less input that has to go into you and the more output that comes out of you makes you a great employee. So that's a success equation number 2. If you want to write it down, it's the input has to be less than the output, or the output has to be greater than the input. All right. So here's a true-false statement. Is this equation true? A good employee will make more money. A good employee will make more money. And the answer to this really is largely actually not true, all right? There is a correlation here. The good employee a lot of times will make more money, but this is a real unjust system. Somebody who can pour in tons of work and energy into their job isn't necessarily going to be the person that makes the most money at the company. In fact, probably is not going to be the case. So this is a false equation right here. A good employee doesn't necessarily mean that that employee is going to be making more money. So then the question is, what goes into then? What can we make a true statement out of? What does create our salary? What does determine our salary? And first of all is the supply and demand of whatever you're doing. So for instance, if you've chosen a career that has a really high supply and not much demand out there, then you're not going to get paid as much. So finding a industry that has a high demand is going to be important if you're going after money, if that's the thing that you want. Obviously, we make concessions, and money is not the only thing that we evaluate when it comes to this, but it should be probably a consideration of whatever you're getting into. So what is the supply and demand? The next thing also is the connections. Somebody could be a great worker, but if they don't have the right connections within the company or outside the company, then they may not be as successful in making money in their career. Another thing is your experience in education, which plays into an element of are you a good employee? But experience in education can help you shortcut. It's part of that shortcutting and to make it to success faster. So we've got experience and education. Another thing that can make a determination in your salary is location, where you're located at. If you are working in California, in the LA area, you're probably going to get paid more than if you're working in the middle of nowhere. It's, although this has changed a little bit, we see a lot more remote work nowadays. So that has opened up some more possibilities with this. But for the most part, the location does make a difference in what salary you get paid. Somebody's ability to negotiate their salary also determines how much you're going to be made, how much you're going to be compensated. And so that is going to be important about this as well. And then there's an element of luck. And so a good example of this would be, I have several examples actually, is in the book Outliers. It talks about how just in life and our dispositions in life, a lot of it has to deal with luck. And so there's a luck part of this equation too, if you get lucky in being able to get those higher salaries. So then the question is does luck equal luck? And what I mean by this is there any way to skew luck? And the answer to this is false, that the luck does not equal luck. And once again, it's to drive home a point here. And that point is that if I have a set of dice that I'm rolling, and maybe I'm trying to get snake eyes. So snake eyes is when it comes up with double ones. And it's really, out of everything you can roll, it's one of the hardest things that you can roll on a dice. Is if you got two dice and you roll it, it's like 1 in 36 chance that you can roll 2 ones. So it makes it very difficult. If I were just to roll it right now, roll 2 dice, I probably wouldn't be successful in rolling snake eyes. But the thing is that I just need to get snake eyes once. So if I roll it again, I probably won't get it again. And if I roll it again, I probably wouldn't roll it again. Now, I could roll it 36 times, and probably one of those times, I'll probably get snake eyes. Statistically speaking. I may not, but statistically speaking, I probably will get it. If I roll it 100 times, the most likely I'll get snake eyes at some point in time in there. So One thing we can do from a luck perspective is you just keep trying. You just keep going after it. And it does two things. And one thing, what it does is it just, you keep rolling it again and again. So your odds are continually increasing, but you're getting smarter about however you're approaching whatever it is that you're trying to do. So you are going to become more educated and knowledgeable, tilting the odds in your favor. So let me give you an example of this. I've seen a lot of people who will say, hey, I want a new career, I want to switch jobs. And so they'll apply for a few positions and they'll maybe go in for a couple interviews and they don't get those. And then they give up. It's like, well, I'm not good enough. I haven't been able to get these jobs. So obviously I'm not good enough and I can't progress in my career. That is a false thinking. A lot of those jobs, there's tens to hundreds of people that are applying to the jobs, perhaps thousands of people that are applying for the jobs. I had a interview or a job that I posted, and within just a matter of a few days, I had over 100 applicants for it. So choosing out of all those, even out of the best candidates out of there, there's only going to be one that gets hired. So if you just roll the dice once, it's not a fair representation of whether you can get the next level up with your job. It's not a fair representation of whether you can be successful or not. You have to keep rolling it. And you just need to hit it one time. You just need to hit the jackpot. It's not like gambling where the odds are completely stacked against you. No, you are going to continue to roll the dice until you find that company that's the right fit. And you're going to become educated and skilled along the way with interviewing. You're going to get practice with interviewing. You're going to answer questions better. And so as you progress along on that path, you will become better and better and more successful, and your chances are going to veer into your favor because of that experience you get, even with just doing interviews. So you can skew luck by giving it a try over and over again. So on your handouts, how can luck work in your favor? You got to keep trying. And then you can outperform others who just try once or a few times and then give up. You will outperform them. Each time you try, your chances improve because your chances of improving, it improves by an infinite amount. Meaning if I don't roll a set of dice, if I've got 2 dice and I don't roll it, my chances of rolling snake eyes are 0. I don't have any chance of rolling snake eyes. If I roll it, immediately it goes from 0 to 1 in 36 chance of rolling snake eyes. That's a huge improvement. I mean, you can't divide by 0, so it's an improvement and an infinite improvement. So that's what I mean by that. It's an infinite amount of an improvement there. And then once again, each time you try, you gain knowledge and experience. All right. Success equation number 5. Does money equal happiness? And I am going to actually say, is it true or false? I'm going to say that this one actually is true. Now, that might rub us sometimes the wrong way. We've been told so many times that money doesn't equal happiness, and that money is the root of all problems. And we get told a lot of information about money that could possibly be incorrect. So one thing that you may have heard as well is, money works till a certain point, and then at that point in time it plateaus or even dips a little bit. And that was done off of an older study and back in 2010, but a more recent study in 2021 actually suggests that your quality of life, your happiness, actually does continue to improve the more money you make, and there's really no apparent ceiling to that. However, there's some caveats. Number one is the more happier, it takes exponentially more and more money to find that happiness. And if you're putting if you're making it a point that to find money to make you happy, that's proven to be wrong. So if we're going after money to be happy, you're not going to find it. So that's where this equation would be wrong. Money doesn't equal happiness. If you're going after money, you're not going to find happiness. But if you choose a career that pays you well, that makes it so that way you don't have to worry about money, it takes care of your basic needs, and then maybe it gives you some benefits of travel and that type of stuff, then it actually is an addition to your life. It actually helps you out in life. And what they found is that what happens is as you get more and more money, you become more generous. You're not holding on to that, and you end up spending your time with other people. And really, a lot of about happiness is about connection. So money helps facilitate connections, which helps facilitate our happiness. Once again, I wouldn't chase happiness. I certainly wouldn't make it a point to go after happiness, but going after how should I say this? Choosing a career that has a good salary with it can prove to help satisfy some of your basic needs and will be an improvement also to your happiness. Okay, then we get into, does money equal job satisfaction? If I pay somebody more, will they be more satisfied with their job? The answer to this, true or false? The answer to this is false. The more I pay somebody, it might get them to stick around maybe for a little bit longer, but it doesn't equate to their job satisfaction. So salary, your salary, choosing a good career does lead to good things, good salaries and stability and that type of stuff. But this whole equation here where money equals job satisfaction is not true. So what is true with this? Well, job satisfaction, number one, money to a certain point because we do have to meet our basic needs. Autonomy, they found that autonomy, the ability to make your own decisions and be able to influence things, does make a difference. Your engagement into work, how engaging your work is, if it has meaning to the work that you do, how your capabilities in actually performing the job, your mastery of the job. And then also the relationships, the relationship with your boss, the relationship with your coworkers will also all goes into this equation of job satisfaction. So, all right. So what does that mean? So IT career. Let's get into an IT career and what can make you successful in IT career, or the stages. This is the stages of an IT career that you would go through. Now, ultimately, there's a lot of different ways you can get into a IT career, and what we find a lot of times is our career does kind of take us in those different directions, and so. But in general, I've just mapped it out so we have at least a map that we can go down. And what you can do is you can pull this map out, and as you're progressing along, you can say, okay, this is where I'm at along this map, and maybe some things that I should be focusing on. And so this is just used as a guide to step you along the way until you find out something different. Like I say, there's a lot of people that are successful, and there's a lot of different ways to do this, but use this as a guide until you find success and find where you want to be. All right, so I kind of look at it as a pyramid. There's this base level where we go through this exploration stage of what do we want to do. Some of us know right from the beginning, this is what I want to do, while others of us are not quite as sure. So you go through this exploration stage. Then you get into an entry-level position. And this is the stuff where you're dipping your toe into the water and really starting to experience the career and what the career has to offer. And then you start getting really good at it, and you get into this professional realm where you're efficient in what you do. And then over time, you become the expert. So what does that look like? From an IT perspective, here's what I would map this out. This is how I would map this out. From an exploration standpoint, I believe in spending your time, making sure you explore things. I would say, anywhere from 1 to 5 years where you spend sitting there exploring, maybe taking different college classes, maybe trying different careers out there, I think is great. I think that's a great experience. So when you're younger and you're just trying these different things out, don't feel like you have to rush into something right away. Now the problem is if we never grow up, if we continue in that stage, long term it's not going to be great. And making a decision is much better than even making a wrong decision is actually much better than being completely indecisive. So at some point in time, you do have to make a decision with this. And so I wouldn't let it go any longer than 5 years. And one thing about the incorrect, about making a wrong decision as far as your career. It is important that we find the right career because it's 90,000 hours. But on the flip side, if you looked at that equation that I had a couple slides ago, there is nothing about finding the right career for you, finding the right job for you. That is not part of the equation. And that's because what they've found through research is that whatever we end up choosing from a career standpoint doesn't actually influence our happiness as much as you would think it would. And making sure you had the exact, ultimately every job that we have that we do hopefully has really positives to it. And every job that we do is probably going to have a lot of negatives to it, or at least a few negatives to it. So so once again, don't spend too much time here in this exploration phase. And obviously there's no necessarily training or salary that's going to be associated with this. So those two lines right there are not applicable. All right, so the next level up, what I would say is with this entry level position, this would be like getting into a help desk position, or maybe just a technician level position. If you're dealing with networking equipment, maybe you're just at the technician level. So this is the entry level, just the first couple years of working in the IT career. What I would say is I wouldn't last too long in this. I would get out of this if you're wanting to advance your career. Obviously, it's kind of a personal choice. If you're happy there, then great. But if you're wanting to advance your career, don't spend too long in an entry-level position. Doing so can really cause problems if you're trying to find new jobs out there and you have years and years and years of experience at these entry-level positions. It just shows a lack of motivation, and then that could be viewed as you not having initiative and not going to be able to have initiative on the job as well. So don't spend too long here. If you want to get into these type of positions, I'm just going to list out some training or certifications that you could go for that would play into these type of roles. So something like the A+ plays into getting this entry-level position, or some Microsoft classes will help get into this type of position. Cisco classes like the CCNA, that could get into these positions. And the salary that I would expect in these would be probably around $35K a year to $55K a year is what I would expect, at least in the United States, around the area that I'm at. Once again, location does make a difference with this. But that would be the salary range that I would expect in that. One thing that's great about this IT career is it really does allow people to start out at this bottom rung. Even if you don't have a huge amount of education, you can get started on your career and then work your way up to make really decent salaries. So that next step, when you get into the next step, I would say the professional, you would stay in the professional, I'd say at least probably 4 years. Expect at least to stay there for 4 years or more. And this is, I'd say, the first level here where you could really be content lasting your whole career right here in the professional realm. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's lots of avenues that will still create growth within there. It pays really well to be in this professional realm. To get into this professional realm, the certs that I would look for right now would be things like the AWS cert or maybe some sort of cloud certification. These are kind of mandatory. You have to know about operating systems. You have to know about servers. You have to know that level just to do any of this type of work. And then when you get into here, everybody's going to the cloud, or maybe there's some sort of DevOps that you can get into, although I have the DevOps on the expert level here. But AWS cloud, those type of trainings will help you out with that. And then from a salary perspective, I would expect anywhere from this, this $50K mark right here to anywhere to $120K. What is where I'd say that the range is within here. And 120K, at least in the area that I live, would be a decent salary, and you could do really well. And so really this does open up. This is why I say a lot of people like to hang out in this bracket for a long time. But if you are interested in progressing and really want to make it to the next level, I would say that you would get to the expert level, and this is where you really start to focus in on a specialty, or you get into management, or some of the hot topics right now is anything in security. So if you get into security, a lot of the security stuff resides in this expert level. You have to know a lot about the technical aspects, but you also have to know a lot about some legal and some regulatory stuff. Also another hot topics right now is DevOps, doing anything in DevOps. So that's a real specialty. Like I say, any kind of leadership with this, getting into a senior level position. The salary, I'd say, starts at that $120,000 mark, but really goes, there's not necessarily a limit. I'd say 120 to 160,000 is very reasonable for you to fall into there. But I know people who are making considerably more than that in this career. So really the sky's the limit on this, and how long you spend there. I mean, ultimately you spend the rest of the time in that expert realm. So that's kind of the stages within the career, and some ways that you can progress through the career and how long you would stay in those different arenas. All right, let's see. So starting or advancing your career. So if you are trying to break into this career, experience is key. Any way that you can get experience is going to be really important. So make sure that you can get out there and you can volunteer, or you can get into those entry-level positions, or anything that can get you in, taking training that has some hands-on the equipment. Getting all of that experience is going to be really important. And I always recommend, if there's tons of places out there that can't afford, maybe they're a nonprofit and they can't afford a lot of tech support, you can get in there and start helping. It's going to do two things. Number one, it's going to get you that experience. So when you get those questions in job interviews, then you'll be able to know how to answer them. And it beefs up your resume along with that. But also it creates connections with different people within the community. And when you establish those connections, you're going to be more likely that you're going to find jobs out there. So experience is going to be key to breaking into the world of IT. All right. Career advancement. If you're looking for career advancement, I've seen a lot of times when people get stagnant and they don't let their skills grow, and they just sit at a certain level. That's problematic. And the reason why it's problematic is because the IT career changes a lot. And so if you're one that you don't want to change, if you don't want to learn, you don't want to grow, then that is going to be problematic. I know a lot of people who work their way up on these big mainframe systems, or some sort of technology that goes out of date, and they don't keep up with their skills. And then the relevance they have in the workforce drops off. And they've actually come and taken my courses because they need to get their experience up, to get their education up, to get a new job. So How do you get growth? Well, start out by getting more different experiences, different education, start learning new things. That's a big part of it. Start making new connections. There's a lot of groups, there's a lot of meetup groups, there's a lot of things in your community that you can start establishing connections. The focus and perseverance that we talked about. Focus on what is your goal? What is your next step? How do you focus on it? And how do you keep going, keep moving towards that? And then there is that bit of luck that you have. Don't just go out for one interview and then determine, oh, I'm not good enough, so I'm not going to apply to anything more. No, if you're going to start looking for a job, expect to go through a lot of interviews. Don't expect to get anything right away. And then be ready for change. A lot of times we may think that we want something, and then when it comes actually time to change, then we get resistant with it. So make sure that you're open for that change as well. And that is going to be what's going to allow you to advance your career, allow you to grow. And then also I'll mention that, I'm going to post other stuff also on my YouTube channel, which is TechnoSurge. So go look me up, subscribe to me. I'm really happy with the stuff that I'm putting out there. So it's all around helping people succeed both in their IT career and just in life in general. So I hope you enjoyed not only this webinar, but you enjoy any of my future stuff that I put out as well. Thank you for joining me. There is a survey after this, so make sure you fill out that survey. Let me know what you thought of the course and everything that you got out of it. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and we will catch you next time.